However, we are now here for something completely different because we have some two wonderful people joining us here. On the one end, we have Elector Fencer, the one guest of honor we already had in Eurofurence 25. Hello, Elector.
Hello, hi, it's nice to meet you all. It's really good to see you, or be around with you here. And I hope you're all well, despite the crazy times.
And of course, we have our second guest of honor, the one who will be there for the AF26, the ever great JoJoesArt, Jonas Jödicke. Hey, Jonas.
Hey, everyone. Hey. Thanks for having me. Hope it's not too warm at your place like it is here in Berlin.
We can totally relate. Right here, it's something about 28 Celsius, and the humidity is just killing people. So we are staying you stay hydrated, by the way. But hey, there's a lot of going on right now, and I'm extremely nervous actually talking with two very, very great people. So my very first question I would have with you is, how do you usually cope with the stress that comes with your kind of, well, work, usually?
Oh, Jonas, you're the highlight of the show today, so you begin with every question that comes in.
All right. How do I cope with stress? That's a good question because I'm not usually the best, I think, with coping with stress. Like sometimes, I don't know, I think that's like an artist these days also, that we are like always stressed, always on the brink of a burnout. But I try my best. I try to do some sports and to, I don't know, play some piano in between or play some video games on my smartphone, stuff like that. It's like to get my mind off creating all the time.
So pretty much trying to relax for yourself, chilling out a little bit, and get your head clean for everything that is about to come. Elector?
Exactly.
It's the same for you?
Yeah, how I cope with stress is I do have a very narrow schedule that I put into my day to make room for myself. So when I end up working many hours, and it's sometimes 10 to 12 hours a day when it's a really high peak time, so it's not always like that, don't worry. I do always have something like 3-hour windows for myself, so entirely for myself, when I quiet down, when I do some meditation. And it sounds so typical, but it's really important just to switch off and turn everything down and just be there for myself. And just like Jonas as well, I also do lots of sports to get the balance from sitting times, lots of sitting, drawing, to actually moving around. It does help a lot. Yeah, it's really, really important.
One usually who works in this kind or other kinds of businesses know that stress can come around right at the corner, and sometimes it just hits here. So it's always good to be prepared there. But despite of stress, I'm pretty sure you have to tell us more than just that, how you actually became the people that you are now today. So where I would like to start with you is actually how or where it actually started for you when you became an artist. Was it already in your childhood that you always dreamed of it? Or how did it actually come to be?
Yeah, for me, it's pretty typical. Like already when I was really small, really young, I loved drawing all the time. I always drew dragons and monsters and dinosaurs and stuff like that. So I was always into that because my mom is a very creative person as well. And she always put some pencils and paper and whatever stuff that we could use to be creative, like all the time we had it around us. I have 5 siblings, by the way, so we're a big family. We always were like creative together, and 2 of my siblings are artists now as well. So I think my parents laid a good foundation for that. And when I turned 14, I think, I discovered digital art. I think I was just browsing on YouTube, watching some drawing videos and stuff like that. And I found a process video of a digital painting And I was like, how's that possible? Like, is he drawing with his mouse? How can he do that and stuff? And so I was immediately hooked. I wanted to get a graphic tablet, and yeah, I got my graphic tablet and Photoshop, and then I started to paint on my PC and upload it to the internet. And yeah.
And then everything exploded around you.
I mean, not immediately. I think the first 3 years or something, I was just uploading it and just, I don't know, like having a few interactions with people and comments and stuff like that. But then at some point, it started really taking off, especially on DeviantArt, where I started out, which is also where I got to meet our lovely Alector. And yeah, from that point on, it kind of like built, and people started asking for commissions and for prints and stuff like that. And yeah, that's how it started.
Oh, sorry for interrupting, but I would say before we continue with me, I just wanted to say something about Jonas and how amazing he is. So many of you probably know JoJoe and his works. You probably have stumbled across one or two of his paintings on the internet before. And to anyone who doesn't know who he is or what his art looks like, we are going to show you throughout the process of this little hangout. So you can have a little bit of insight of his brilliant mind, of what he does and what his artwork is all about. So yeah, our friendship goes back many years from the early days of DeviantArt. And back then he surprised me. It was back in 2011 when he surprised me with fan art of my plant spirit character. It was so amazing because the painting, which was called They Are Still Alive, interpreted my plant spirit character with such deep meaning. So Jonas, if you can show up the painting, if you got it around, maybe?
Yeah.
It truly fascinated me. It was absolutely amazing when I saw it, because not many people actually know of the two sides of the plant spirit character, but Jonas did. And he's still to this day one of the really rare artists who can tell deep stories with just one single illustration, just by playing with the aspects of duality and his skill of vast detailing. I absolutely enjoy this, and many of his followers do as well. He does have a very vast following on Instagram as well as on Twitter, as you've probably seen. And it's because of his amazing artworks. And one of his various specialities is the juxtaposing of visual aspects, characters, and environments that leave a lot of freedom for interpretation of the viewer, while touching deeply into the emotional realms and narrative. And I'm so happy that we became friends, because it's always so amazing to talk about ideas and just to go very deeply into the aspect of artwork and finding ideas together to come up with creative new things. And of course, since friendships can share similar paths, since we already know each other for 9 years now, Jonas. It's amazing, 9 years. It's amazing how time passed. We actually have plenty of stories to share about being artists online, including our lifestyles, successes, failures, and things we all don't like hearing about that too much as well, which also includes art theft. But it's all stuff for later. So before I dwell any longer on this brilliant artist, I will just have you introduce him to you.
A lot of things about him that is absolutely great, and I completely agree on that point. When the first time I actually seen Jonas's art, I just was amazed by the kind of coloration he used, the kind of reality in form of lighting that he's using in every picture you usually do. This is something a lot of people usually struggle with, and it was just amazing to see this kind of fidelity in the kind of work you're doing there. So I like to just put it perfectly.
Thank you. That's really kind of. I'm really, really honored.
Oh, sorry. You go on.
I'm really honored to be invited as a guest of honor here because I just got to know the furry community. Through a lecture, and last year was my first Eurofurence where I also participated as a dealer on the dealer stand. And to be invited this year, even though I'm not a typical furry artist in that sense, I would say I'm painting more like I would say I'm a fantasy artist, like I like animals and fantasy landscapes and stuff like that. So to be invited this year is a great honor. So thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. As I just said in the opening ceremony, your art is very famous out there, and a lot of different kinds of artists we have in the fandom usually look forward to such kind of quality and also try to get in the footsteps of both of you. And Jonas, your art pretty much inspired a lot of people to also try something that is very deep in fantasy. And it is absolutely great to have someone there who has such kind of interest also in this kind of topic, and also getting a little more deeper in the different kinds of, well, imaging things that are not completely real, but maybe could be. So in that regard, do you have any kind of inspiration that usually gets you to this point, that you drawing up something completely out of your mind?
Well, I would say one of my really big inspirations is my upbringing is kind of special in a way because I grew up as a very religious person, very spiritual and stuff like that. Actually, I left the church that I grew up in last year, so that's a whole nother story. But still, like, spiritual things have always been really interesting to me, and the idea of divinity and of some higher being or some higher power out there that's watching over us, and also the theme of like duality of good and evil or light and dark. And I would say that's a big inspiration for me. It has always been something that inspired me. And also I love nature, I love animals. I love to portray them as some kind of guardians that are watching over us, or spirit animals. So the combination of spirituality, fantasy, animals, I would say that's maybe what describes my interest in art.
It's absolutely understandable, yeah. Since religion can be such a profound experience for so many people, and touching down on the spirituality of creatures or imagination can come up with so deep ideas, which it's very difficult to explain, actually, which you managed to portray in your paintings, which is why I believe so many people came to know your artwork, because they are so deeply emotional, even though some of your artworks don't have a very vast explanation or so. They just stand on their own and just show everything. They are like a canvas of dreams, and people who look at your art, they can understand it immediately. And this is really what makes your artwork very special, what I really enjoy.
Thank you. I think that's, for me, also one of the most profound experiences as an artist, is to get that feedback from people, that when they look at my art, that they feel exactly what I wanted to portray with it. And that's something, sometimes people tell me that they've seen my paintings in their dreams before they even saw it. I don't know if that's real, but that's so crazy. Like, some people are just like, yeah, I saw that lion that you drew exactly like that, in that position and that lighting, and I think it's my spirit animal or something like that. And I'm like, whoa, that's crazy, because I just tried to create from a very deep space inside of me. Like, it's almost like a meditative experience to draw for me, because I feel like I can really connect to the essence of who I am, and give that out to the world. And for people to connect to that is such a almost sacred experience for me somehow, that people feel what I want to convey through my art.
I think
it's really amazing.
Absolutely. I would say this makes it very special, especially when you have this kind of connection with people out there. Were you ever actually approached by someone else out there when just on the street or at conventions, and they told you right away, "Oh, come on, you're that artist. I saw that picture just away," and had someone kind of also give you this feedback that you sometimes feel for your art by maybe also some other people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was very crazy actually last year when I was at EF in Berlin and had my little booth there with my prints and stuff. So many people stopped by and they were like, "Oh, I saw that art on, I don't know." Some people were like, "I have that art on my phone as a wallpaper," or, "Oh, I saw that as a puzzle," or I actually met people also on the convention. I think I saw like 5 or 6 people who were wearing hoodies with my art, and they didn't even know it was from me. So they came by, and I was like, "Oh, see, that's the same picture I have here on a print." And they were like, "Oh, what?" So that's always really crazy. I think the internet makes it possible for art to spread all across the globe, and sometimes you don't even know where it ends up. Yeah, it's insane.
Or it's ending up in China where you're already celebrated as a god. You're like a god figure.
Someone from China once on another convention at Comic-Con in Berlin, a Chinese girl came to me and she gave me a card. She was like, "Can you sign that for me?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." She was like, "Yeah, like you're actually like your art is everywhere in China. Like in they have, what's it called? I think WeChat, like their social media where they can also share pictures and stuff like that." And she said, "Yeah, like so many people there have it as their profile pictures or stuff like that." So I was like, okay, like I still live in my flat here, you know, in Berlin, and I don't know, it's crazy.
Yeah, you told me a story about going to China. Can you tell the crowd a little bit more about your experience there and why you went there?
Yeah, that ties into the topic of art theft, which is one of the things we wanted to talk about today because it's a very prevalent thing in the artist community. Mm-hmm. So my art, as amazing as it is that it's so far spread, it also quickly leads to people taking my art and selling it on all different kinds of products. So I have a big problem with art theft, and especially from China. China is the one biggest country that always uses my art to put it on products such as hoodies or puzzles or mugs, pillows, like any product you can imagine. And they uploaded it to different sites like Alibaba, AliExpress, Wish, Amazon, eBay, all the platforms. And I think it was in 2017, I think. That's when I really found out how big that actually was, like how many people actually sold my art online and how many different listings and sellers there were. And I was totally overwhelmed, and I fell into some kind of like almost like a depression for a while because I was so overwhelmed with it. I didn't really know what to do about it. But then I met someone from Israel. He had a shop, an online shop, and he wanted to collaborate with me. And I told him about the art theft problem. And he was like, "Hey, I actually have connections to Alibaba and AliExpress because he has some friends who work there or something." So he helped me out to clear the platforms from these counterfeit products that were using my art. And he got so many messages by Chinese sellers who were like, "You're taking away our livelihood and we're gonna kill you." Like he got threats and stuff like that. It's really crazy. And but one company said they really wanted to work with me, and they apologized for what they had done, and they said they're going to pay me for any past sales, and they wanted to work with me in the future. So they invited me to China and paid for the flight and everything. And I went there with that guy from Israel. And yeah, I got to see a factory that was producing my art. I actually have some photos if you want to see them.
It would be absolutely great, because I'm pretty sure that a lot of people down there, how big this can actually become. Even if you just putting, for example, art online, that somewhere on the end of the world, a big factory is just producing everything you're doing on a big scale. So I'm pretty sure that people will be interested to see what is actually there and how does it look like.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Can you see my screen? Okay, perfect. So here's one photo, for example. So the worker here on the right, she is wearing a jacket because it was a big hall that they were working in, and it didn't have any heaters. Probably because they were trying to not have too many costs or something. And here you can see my art on like hoodies, and she was packing them in plastic bags. And then let's see what else they have. This one here, they are working on t-shirts at that moment, like stitching it together and stuff. And I could watch them.
Oh dear.
Yeah, here's my own artwork.
Oh, that's so hard to see. How did you cope? Must be heartbreaking.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, I knew that I was going to work with them. So with that specific company, it was all right seeing that, because I knew, okay, I'm going to work with them and I'm going to earn from the sales also that they have.
Okay.
But in general, seeing how far spread it was and how many factories produced my art and sold it, that was very difficult. And to this point, I still get messages every day by people who tell me they've found my art on some platform being sold and stuff. And I mean, I've kind of gotten used to it, so it's not hurting me as much anymore as in the beginning, which is kind of sad also in itself. But it's still very difficult. Yeah.
It probably ties into what I mentioned before, that your artwork reaches so deeply into or connects with so many people worldwide, and that it's probably very desired, very sought after, and many people would love to probably market it as well, because they see the connection between this picture works and people want to have it. So we make apparel or we make prints without your permission. And it often happens, unfortunately, on the internet too, that it's very easy to find a picture and you think somebody is probably not well known, or you can just take what you see and it's in the open anyway, so it's just free to take and market. It's a very difficult topic. And yeah, we are also tied, Jonas and I, we also have a little bit of history on DeviantArt and art theft together, as well as with his sister Pixie Cold, who is as well a very popular artist. And her artwork gets stolen so often. I see it everywhere. It's crazy.
Yeah,
I can totally understand there. In that regard, it sounds absolutely nice that you actually had also an experience that worked a little bit better than that. That you not just had this one experience where everything was just stolen, but at least someone got actually to you, and you had the chance to work with them together. Maybe not with everyone, but at least with someone. How was it actually the feeling for you? Were you just glad that at least one was there, or was it like, oh, come on, it's just a drop in the water and
I was really glad to have found that guy who was from Israel who helped me clean all these platforms, because he really did a great job to help me get rid of all these counterfeit products. And I was also happy to have that company to work with officially. I mean, at the same time, it still kind of stings with G or K, to this day that I mean, just the thought, I think if I had earned a fair commission from every sale from all these different sellers, I probably wouldn't need to worry about any bills in my whole life anymore. I think because I saw some of the listings on Alibaba, because you can see how many they already sold. And I did a quick calculation, like going through all the different products and stuff. And even just on a few pages, I think it amounted to tens of thousands of sales. And that was just one platform. There were like also on Amazon and eBay, and So I mean, it still hurts to know that some people, I don't know, made a fortune by selling these things and didn't pay the original artist. But at the same time, I'm also really grateful that I have the opportunity at all to live off of my art, and it's going really well. I have also other companies that I work with for other products, and so I can't complain in that regard.
Since you're sorry, Alecta.
Sorry, no, I just wanted to say, but really the pinnacle of art theft was really the story at the beginning of this year with Aaron Carter, who just stole one of your artworks for his own apparel. What a crazy story! God damn it!
Would you mind telling us a little bit more about it? Because
it
yeah,
you tell it.
Where should I start? That was really crazy. Okay, it was in January this year. Fan wrote me, I think, on Instagram that Aaron Carter, he's the younger brother of Nick Carter from the Backstreet Boys, and Aaron used my art on Twitter to promote his clothing line. And the fan asked me if I had given him permission for that and stuff, and I was like, no. And I had a look, and actually I wasn't really active at that time on Twitter. I think I had around maybe 1,000 followers or something. I never really posted a lot there. And then I found the tweet from Aaron, and he had used my art there. And I tweeted out to him, and I replied and said, hey, I didn't give you permission to use my art. Actually, I have the tweet here if I can also read it. Let's see.
Yeah,
that's his tweet at first. So he said 2 lines at work can reach an understanding, and then he promoted his clothing line and stuff. And that's my artwork Brotherhood, which features these 2 lions, kind of like a yin and yang thing. And then I tweeted at him. So the one below here, I said, hey, Aaron Carter, you are using my artwork to promote your merchandise. I have not given you permission to do so. My art is being commercially exploited by people on a daily basis. We artists have rights too. And his reply, and that my tweet at first didn't get a lot of traction, but then he replied to it and he said, you should have taken it as a compliment, Dick. A fan of mine sent this to me. Oh, here they go again. The answer is no. This image has been made public and I'm using it to promote my clothing line. Guess I'll see you in small claims court.
I remember that day so well because we actually wanted to meet at our place, and Jonas was on his way to meet us so we could hang out and bake a cake. So he sent me a message and said, okay, I'm not doing so well, something happened. And when he arrived, he was totally pale. He was like, something happens, look at this. It was crazy. And I swear, if Aaron Carter had just replied like a normal human being and said, yeah, I'm sorry, I was wrong, I'm gonna take it down, everything's okay. But no, he was just being this dickhead and trying to fight for that image. That was the only reason why this absolutely exploded into so much drama.
The Barbara Streisand effect?
Yes.
Yeah. It was so crazy. And I was actually really glad that I was at Elector's place on that day. Because as she said, it was really, it was really exciting in a way because there was so much attention for that case. But it was also really difficult for me to deal with all of that attention because the tweet blew up so much. I think it was number 1 or 2 on the trending page in the US. And Forbes magazine reached out to me and they did an interview with me about it. And lots of different TV broadcasters, not TV broadcasters, sorry, like internet platforms for news and stuff, they reached out to me and did interviews also. And one TV broadcaster did an interview on TV in a very famous show in Germany. And I don't know, it was just so much attention and just crazy. But I was also really, really glad about the artist community, because they all really sided with me, and they all shared that, and were really outraged about it. And yeah, it was a bittersweet moment for me.
Yeah, and also, oh, sorry, I keep interrupting you. You speak now. Sorry.
I have a very big question around this, because there are a lot of other artists who are also hit by something like this. And I just would like to ask you, since you had maybe not the best experience with that, but you at least know how things can develop pretty much behind it. So if someone else is hit by something like this, the art is stolen, and they have someone who are not giving in. They are just saying, we'll live with it, you are now pretty much just mine, and you can't do anything about it. What would you tell those people? How can they maybe go with the situation a little bit more comfortable, and not being, as you just said, completely dropping out of the sky because some bigwig just told you that all your art is pretty much his now? So,
yeah.
Have you maybe some kind of suggestions what people can do in this situation?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's lots of ways already before that happens, how you can protect your art, by watermarking it and by posting like lower resolution images. I mean, that doesn't always stop people from taking the art. For example, my artwork Brotherhood was also watermarked, and I think the first one I posted, I think that was in 2016, was a bit high resolution, so that was my mistake. But that's something that you can do already beforehand. And once it is stolen, there's the option of having a DMCA takedown. So you can, like, through the platform that you're operating on, for example, if you're on Twitter, you can send a DMCA takedown notice, which I learned about also through that case with Aaron Carter. Many people wrote me, yeah, you can just do that and stuff. But later on, people said, hey, no, actually take it to the court, because he wanted to take me to court. So, yeah. But that's something that you can do, a DMCA takedown. So you just say, hey, that's my art, and I want it to be removed by the platform. And they usually do it if you can prove that you are the original artist. And yeah, I mean, in the worst case scenario, if someone who is a bit more well-known, or maybe also a big company, steals your art, then I would also really suggest to take legal action, because I'm kind of fed up with us artists always having to make the effort and report that to the platforms, and then it's just taken down, and the person does it the next time again. Sometimes these people really need consequences and need to, I don't know, pay the artists also for that. And that's why I was the case with Aaron Carter to court.
Did this case already finish? So with Aaron Carter?
It's not finished yet. So the lawsuit is, I think it's filed now. I'm not sure. My attorney said he was going to file it, I think, last week. Took a bit because of coronavirus and stuff. But it's definitely going to court. And he said it's a very, very good case, because Aaron Carter didn't show any remorse or anything. And so, yeah, we'll see how that
He got a new face tattoo, by the way.
Yeah.
It's a Holocaust face. Oh. What a weird person. Yeah, you will win. I know that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Exactly.
Jonas and I, we also wanted to make a video and wanted to make some concepts to connect to a bigger range of artists and the community, so that we can have a platform to help each other. because it's mostly that we as artists, we are so involved in our projects, we don't really check the internet all the time. So we are mostly offline most of the time. And it is thanks to the community and the fans who actually notify us about these happenings. And it's always also for me, in my case, because my plant spirit design gets stolen so often, and even fan art that other people do for me, or trades, that stuff gets stolen as well. And it's a whirlwind. So it's thanks to our fans and the fan community who actually notifies us, and so that you can actually go together and go together against it and try to help each other, which is very helpful. So I don't know, Jonas and I, we wanted to make a video about it, but Corona happened, unfortunately, so we didn't really get around to it. We would still love to do it at some point, but we have to find a way to meet up and just go for it at some point. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Okay. Ooh, that's a very good question. I do absolutely struggle with that. I actually have many unfinished pieces on my PC. I have so many works in progress. But something I do tell myself is that finished is better than perfect. There's that saying. Because I find that what oftentimes stops me from finishing my art is that I get too perfectionistic about it. I find all the faults with it, and I think, oh, that doesn't look good. It's right here and there, and that could have been done better, and whatever. And by becoming so critical about my art, sometimes I just scrap it, and I think, yeah, no, I'm not going to finish it. I'm just going to start another one and hope it goes more smoothly. So I would say still finish your art, even though it might not be perfect, because you'll learn a lot through the process. And also, what I found is that sometimes the pieces I'm very dissatisfied with, when I share them with people, they actually really like it, and sometimes they even like those exact parts I didn't really like about it. So yeah, I would say don't be too hard on yourself. But I'm also working on that, so that's the best advice I can give.
Yeah, it's the same with realizing that perfectionism can truly lead you against the wall. You can actually smash your head over it. And what truly is so much fun to experience is the happy mistakes that you can make. When I sit on a really complex painting, for example, and I do sometimes get stuck, or I get stuck really often, actually. And I ask myself, is this the right way? Is this the right color and the right detailing? I sometimes just put it away, and then think about something else, and then come back to it and see it again with a fresh mind. It can actually lead to new ideas and new ways to resolve problems. And this is why I really love happy mistakes. So when you sit down and you make a scribble, or you're sitting on a really complex painting and you're really freaking out, like, this picture is not working out, and then you just switch around and do anything, and all of a sudden this happy mistake happens, and you're like, oh, that kind of detail is actually working nice, and this leads to another idea, and then you can render it out, and then it just works. I really love these things about art. So don't really get stuck on planning out everything too perfectly, because art is not really supposed to be perfect. It's art. It's a way of expression. Expressing yourself, and that's a great thing about it. And mistakes and little failures are part of it. It's like a little journey.
Understandable. I have a fitting question there, because when you're speaking about usually the time and ideas that are coming into a picture, there's a question by Ultraviolet. What is the favorite personal piece of work that is very dear to you? And do you mind to share why the piece is your favorite or means so much to you?
Okay.
Whew.
I think actually one of my favorite, if not my favorite pieces, just from the meaning, is actually my brotherhood piece. I can actually show it here on the screen. That's also one that Aaron Carter used to promote his clothing line. And I would say why it is my favorite piece is because it has a very deep meaning for me. Because at the time when I was drawing it, I went through a really difficult time in my life. I was kind of like trying to find myself. That's a whole nother story. But last year I also had my coming out, so I'm part of the LGBT community as well. And I think that was the first painting where it's almost as if my inner self was speaking to me and telling me something about myself. And yeah, I think that's why it's very meaningful to me, which is also why it hurt all the more that it was used a way that I didn't really
Understandable. I think there are two versions of the picture. Am I correct?
Yeah, there are actually three versions. So there's also one with a black background. Yeah, there's one with a black background, and then one where the lines are like yellow, orange, and blue. So just like some color changes. But it's also part of a series. So there's 4 other paintings that look kind of similar to it, but with different animals and different signs that they form. So that one is a heart shape. And then there's also like a yin and yang shape. I think you cannot really see it, but it's part of a series that I created.
I can see it a little bit. You have it currently on the Discord on the left.
Yeah, I can also show it really quickly on my DeviantArt. Second. Yeah, right here. So that's the Brotherhood one. And then there's this one with wolves, the yin and yang. And this one called Circle of Life. And this one.
I think you just said you like this kind of duality, this kind of more good and bad, and what is pretty much the force in between. I think that comes really with this kind of symmetry you're usually looking there. So very nice.
Thank you.
Alecta, do you maybe have also something in that regard?
Oh yeah, I got so many. Actually, as a comic artist, it's very difficult to determine which painting is your favorite or which is the most meaningful, especially when I create stories. But one of the most meaningful, I'm trying to share my screen now. Let's see, I got a very wide screen here. Okay. Let's see. I hope you can see it. Yeah, it's this one. It's the one with... yeah, you can see it now. Yeah, this is of my latest finished comic project, Haunter of Dreams. And this is a panel that happened to place inside of the story. And it's one of the most important pictures that I've drawn that put the whole story forward. And it's very difficult for me to explain why this is so important, but it has such a deep connection to the entire Chronicles of Iria and all the stories that I create. and especially with this tiny character touching this really big dragon, which is especially for the character himself the pinnacle of his own lifetime experience, to meet a creature of this kind and to be this close to this dragon, which is a very rare sight for an Irian of this kind. And I put so much time into creating this image. And it happened even between the time when I had a very big surgery behind me and I was still during a very, very struggling healing phase. And even though I couldn't move as much and I was sitting in bed most of the time, healing around, and it was in midsummer, I was painting this picture and I put most of my time into it. And I got so much amazing feedback, and so many people actually reached out to me and said, I dreamt of this picture, and this picture has such a deep meaning to me, but I cannot really put my finger on it. And it really meant a lot to me, and it still has a really deep meaning to me, and I'm really happy I can actually choose this one as one of the most important.
Is absolutely vibrant, the picture. But since you actually told that this is also important, that how much time you actually put in there, have you maybe a number that the people can hear? How long did it take to make this picture?
This one took actually quite long because of surgery, healing and stuff, but if I really sink my teeth into it, it can take about Hunt of Dreams was a really long project, even though it was a smaller book than Mirror. It took about 30 hours. It was a very, very complex one. Yeah, because it has so many layers.
And I have a very fitting question here also, that's going more about the motives. Elton Say asked, I hope I pronounce it correctly, how do you come up with motives of your art? Do you see something inspiring and do your own spin on the subject, or do you research a topic and then make art of it?
Depends. Really depends. For me, Jonas and I, we live together in Berlin, which is a very vibrant city. It doesn't take much to actually get inspiration. You just have to take the train, and then you see so many people and so many colors and things that happen all the time. It's just going around, you can gather so many inspirations. But most of the time it's dreams for me. Yeah, what is it like for you, Jonas? How do you get your ideas?
Well, most of the time they actually come as I do, like as I'm active. So for example, when I'm sketching, I try to have a sketching habit where I just draw whatever comes to my mind. Sometimes in that process, an idea comes to my mind, and it's just like a little spark. It's not I can already see the finished painting completely in front of me, but I can kind of see like a blurry version of it, like some kind of feeling inside of me. And then I try to sketch it out without using any reference or anything. And then once I have the initial sketch, then I try to do the research and search for references, kind of fill out my imagination with real life references that make it more realistic in a way. So I think that combination is what really helps me to achieve something that looks original and like fantasy-ish, but also at the same time goes into the realistic realm.
Yeah, I can totally understand that feeling. It's really like a spark, and it's like a fire that burns in you. You have some kind of, like when you daydream or when you listen to a piece of music or you see something that has absolutely nothing to do with the image you end up doing, but it has a certain color range or something that interests you. You have this fire inside of you, and it ripens like a fruit that you can pick up later, and then you make the sketch. It's very difficult to explain this process, but it has to do a lot with daydreaming and playing your own movie in your mind.
Mm-hmm. Understandable. I
Very
think,
interesting.
especially about that spark, I think it's a better good transition to what kind of sparks do you think will happen for you in the future? So what kind of dreams are you having right now that you want to have coming true?
Jonas, you first.
Yeah. Well, something I recently did, which has always been something I wanted to do, is open a Patreon. So I'm now on Patreon, and I share tutorials with people and step-by-steps of my art and process videos. And we also do an art challenge every month that you can participate in. So that's something I'm building right now and kind of working on and stuff. And in the future, so it's also my dream to create my own kind of story and universe at some point. I already have lots of ideas in my head, but I haven't really gotten to fleshing them out. So that's something I really want to do. I want to write novels, maybe even, I don't know, maybe even a graphic novel one day. And my absolute dream goal ever would be to see my creations on the big screen someday, like in a movie or something like that. I mean, that's a pretty high dream that I have, but I don't know, maybe one day it will become reality.
Definitely. The many points, it's pretty much that you have some kind of goal that you're longing for, and that gives you a good spark on these dreams that you're talking about to go somewhere, and from there have the experience to actually do something greater. As you just said beforehand, it is all about doing it. That you're not getting stuck about something because it's not that best, it's not going to be really that good, and people will not be happy. They will. As long as you do something, they will be very happy. I'm seeing here also that when you're staying with that, you maybe will even be coming in one of the greater movies there and drawing something that people will be just being awe of. I'm pretty sure about that.
It would be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
For
do
you,
have
Alex?
potential. Yeah. Well, my nearest future now is creating the second volume of Mirror. And only 3 days ago or 4 days ago, my campaign to fund the next volume actually ended. And it was absolutely amazing. The community spirit I experienced there was so overwhelming. I made over 245% of the main goal. And I still cannot fathom how amazed I am and how thankful I am for all the support and all the love, and for people believing in me, and for knowing that I can do the next vast project, because it is a very big undertaking. Mirror is a very massive book, and it has 180 pages, and all the panels are full illustrations. So I am doing well right now. I'm pretty far into the storyboard. I do have a very amazing co-author, which many of you probably know. He's Kaki Doggy. He's the great photographer who runs around most of the time, taking amazing pictures of people at Eurofurence. And he's also absolutely amazing. He propels the story forward with me in such a great way. So we are making great progress. And I don't know what the future will bring for me, but since I'm always inspired by movies and games, but mostly movies, and since I don't have the resources to produce movies, I try to make like movies on paper, which is why I make comics. But hopefully one day I can actually get into movie production and see how it goes with animation. That's one of my really big dreams. But it's really far in the future, and it's also, as Jonas said, very high up. But yeah, work hard for your dreams and hope for the best. And yeah, I do my very best, and I'm very happy and thankful.
I think the people will also be very thankful for everything you're doing there. If it's the kind of support you're giving in the arts community, but of course also for the things you're creating for everyone out there. This is just completely amazing what you're doing there, and the people will be there to see what you're coming up with next. So I really hope I'm wishing you the best. And in that regard, thank you very much for joining us today, that you've been here also for Eurofurence Online. It was absolutely a great time. And I hope that you maybe will be also staying a little longer, because people will have probably put down some more questions in the text channel to this kind of show right now. Yeah. So it would be great if you maybe can answer those questions there and maybe interconnect with the people that really like the art that you're doing. So in that regard, I hope you also had much fun and hope to see you around.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was really nice.
Stay safe.
Bye-bye.